everybody. Let everybody just kind of sit down so we can start. It's a beautiful Sunday, so I'm pretty sure you guys all want to get on with your day. I thank you for coming. I'm so excited. I can't believe we had to drop cafeteria tables to fit everybody in. That's wonderful. So I am Jen Ryan, and this is Meg Malone. We are taking over for Faith Formation this year. I want to welcome you all for joining us, and we're so happy that you chose St. Bridget. I know for some it was a little bit like, who's going to be leading it, what's going to happen, and you stuck with us, and I appreciate that, and thank you. I'm going to be leading grades K through 5, and Meg, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Meg Malone, and I'll be leading grades 6 through 10 this year, working with the confirmation students, and we're so excited to have you here. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday morning to prioritize faith formation. That really sets the stage for us to get on the same page when it comes to communication and what we're expecting for the year, and that way we can move forward together. So I thank you for coming.
So everybody that came in, you should have gotten a packet of information. The top page that says welcome has the agenda. We did have to move it around a little bit. Father Mark has to say Mass at 11:30, so we wanted to make sure he could say what he needed to say. So all the information you need is on this first page, and then we'll be reviewing everything else that's included. So when we get started, Meg is going to do an opening prayer. Father Mark is going to speak to us about the role of the parents getting involved in our parish. I'm going to go through the new parent handbook that we have this year. We're going to talk about our goals for K through 5 and 6 through 10 and really kind of what we're going to be doing this year. Talk about communication, and then some housekeeping, and then on our way.
So you can turn to the front page of your handout, the welcome sheet, where it has the God Made Us a Family prayer, or if you can see it on the projector, that'll work too. So we can begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God made us a family. We need one another. We love one another. We forgive one another. We work together, we pray together, we worship together. Together we use God's word. Together we grow in Christ. Together we love all people. Together we serve our God. Together we hope for heaven. These are our hopes and ideals. Help us to attain them, O God. Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So now that we've started with prayer, I will welcome Father Mark up here to talk about the role of the parents.
Largely what I'm going to say is drawn from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. This slide from number 22, 23 really is at the heart of all the role of the parent in the Catholic Christian education of their children. So let's just we'll just take a moment here to read this. I'll read it aloud and you can follow along. Parents have the first responsibility for the education of their children. They bear witness to this responsibility first by creating a home. By creating a home where tenderness, forgiveness, respect, fidelity, and disinterested service are the rule. The home is well suited for education and virtues. This requires an apprenticeship in self-denial, sound judgment, and self-mastery, the preconditions of all true freedom. Parents should teach their children to subordinate the material and instinctual dimensions to interior and spiritual ones. Parents have a great responsibility to give good example to their children. By knowing how to acknowledge their own failings to their children, parents will be better able to guide and correct them, and vice versa. When you kids are wrong, admit it to your parents. It's a two-way street. Okay. As I read and reread that one, I thought it caused me to go back on my own life to when my parents, I went to Catholic school, so I didn't go to CCD, but nonetheless, my parents did not leave it only to the nuns to teach my brother and I about the faith. That was brought home in a very real way, and at least in my own family, I was in grade 1 in the early 1960s. Don't do the math. And I had 3 grand aunts that were nuns. Talk about pressure. And every time the nuns would come over to our house, or we'd have to go up to the convent for a visiting day. No, I had 4 nuns, aunts that were in the convent. You had to at least put the faith on and demonstrate that you knew something new. And so that was a big dimension to our family, was to live the faith, but a lot of the faith was right there embodied in our own flesh and blood as well. So the home, and I think this slide said it all, the home is the classroom for Catholic and Christian education. It's the home. The church can help, but it's the home where the lessons are foundational, and it's at the home that this begins. Okay, we move on to the slide from canon law. If you were a teacher, you'd take these 2 papers and say you guys were copying from one another. But canon law and the catechism of the Catholic Church are drawing off a common source. We can just go through these. The end of marriage is by its nature ordered for the good of the spouses and the procreation and education of children, and has been raised by Christ to the dignity of the sacrament. That's the basic definition of marriage. You had to know it. You had to know it in the seminary. But I dare say it should be ordered to the happiness of the husband and wife and their well-being. And part of their love and well-being is expressed in the outpouring of children. Fine. And I think it's great that we can leave physical, children after us, but there's also something else that we can have besides a long string of children. It's this, that not only a long family line, but a family, we try to provide wealth for our future, so there's a financial inheritance there, a physical inheritance, but also a spiritual one. We pass on many things to our kids. We all want our kids to live better than us. And so we go to any lengths to make sure they get a good education. But part of that education also makes sure their future is secure, the education is secure, the financial is secured. But their physical, but their spiritual and education is also important as well. Solicitude for catechesis belongs to all members of the church. Parents, above all, are obliged to form their children by word and example in the practice of the faith. For all of you, from one age to another, this began on the day of their baptism. When you as parents, standing there with the godparents, promised to bring them up into the education and the practice of the faith. How many 10th graders here? Raise your hand. Some. Okay. You 10th graders are about to take the baton in the relay race. Until this time, the parents have been carrying the baton. They have been teaching you the faith. On the day of your confirmation, you're going to grab that baton and run on your own. And so all of you other kids are moving to that time, and you're going to grab that baton from your mom and dad and show them that you can run this race. St. Paul tells the Corinthians, run. Run is to win. And every athlete exercises discipline. St. Paul says, I don't run aimlessly. We don't want you guys to be aimless in your studies. I don't run aimlessly. I drive my body. I train. I run for an imperishable crown. And so Paul trained, but we're going to study. And so Paul wanted all of the Corinthians to persevere in the race that was before them. And of course, we want you to persevere in this race, the spiritual race before you. Canon 226 again brings out the responsibility of training the children in the faith, to educate them. The word grave comes up a few times in church writings. They don't throw it around too loosely. Let me just get on to some other things I wanted to say here about this. The home is the school of virtues, and that was already brought out in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. We don't want the kids going to the street for their moral values. If we don't teach them, other values are going to creep in. Whether those values have to do with the marketplace or anywhere else. Begin to teach them these values in the home. We don't want them to go outside of church or outside the home for their moral upbringing. It's the home and the church where they're going to get the values that are going to sustain them in life. In the Catechism, it says parents have the privilege of evangelizing their children. Sometimes it may not feel like a privilege, but it is. You may not feel that it's a privilege when you have to drive them here on an inclement day, or they don't want to go. Or when there's other pressing things like homework and sports and things like that. But it is a privilege given to parents to be the first evangelists of their children in the ways of faith by witnessing to the faith of what they say and what they do. One of my godparents was a brother, a Franciscan brother. And although he did not go on with it, let me tell you, you had to watch out for Uncle Bobby. He expected good things from a godson. And a lot of things can be done in the home as well. One thing that's important for us as parents to do is this, and this is brought up in number 2226. It says that the Eucharistic table and the family table are linked together. That what goes on in your home finds its fulfillment around the Eucharist on Sundays. And so I cannot emphasize enough the lessons we pass on to the older students, are lessons that have to do with your body, how you relate to one another, giving each person justice, dignity, respect. We're teaching you how to change the world. But before you can change the world, you have to be able to model yourself after Jesus. And so the lessons in grade 9 and grade 10 are critical. They are very critical. You know, as fathers and mothers, we hand them the car keys at age 16 and a half. But there's so much more than a set of car keys that implies adult responsibility, and that's interrelational things like moral theology and things like that. And so the lessons in grade 9 and 10 are very important. They are just as important for the 9th and 10th graders as the Our Father, the Hail Mary, and the Eucharist is in grade 2 for the younger ones. So CCD is timely for everybody. It's timely for everybody, and it takes a church to educate a parish. So I'd like to thank Meg Malone and Jen Ryan for coming on board this year. It's their first year. I know we have to move on in the program. I'd like to say this as a priest. and I don't think there's a need to say it, but it's a student handbook they brought together, especially for the older kids. We're happy you're here, we want you to be here, but in the program overall, there's little time and little place for misbehavior and disrespect. The boys should act as young gentlemen, and the girls as young ladies. Take your hats off, be respectful, be engaged. Don't be looking down at personal iPads and things like that. I just came out of night school a little while ago, and the students were on iPads and things like that. Professors notice. And so here, when you're in class here, be engaged, be respectful, treat others as you'd want to be treated. Stepping over those bounds will probably get me involved. I don't want to get really involved in disciplinary problems, or they don't want to be here and they're taking it out on the teacher. Later on in life, you're going to look back and say, I'm glad I came here, I'm glad I went through these lessons. So I think we have the student handbook that goes over a lot of what's expected during class. But I think the easiest lesson is just cooperate and to embrace what the teachers are trying to do. They've given up their time, and so we hope that you'll meet them halfway with respect and attention. What you doing? Yes. Here's other ways to get involved beyond the Eucharistic table. We still need catechists, grade 5 and grade 10.
In grade 9.
And 9. 5 is easy, but 5 is also a year where the kids demand a lot of, you gotta be you gotta be on your feet. Good turnover. Grade 9 and 10, it's not like watching To Serve with Love. It's not that tough. It's enjoyable. If you have sons and daughters right now, you're probably where you need to be. So we do need catechists, classroom aides, hall monitors, office helpers. I was lucky when I was in Danvers, the first person that came forward to volunteer for CCD was the just retired school principal at Danvers High. Let me tell you, she threw some organizations to up. God bless her. Altar service. When I was in the Navy, fighter pilots were still serving Mass, and they were honored to serve Mass. And so, it's never too old to be an altar server. So, grade 5 and up, it's a nice time to be up there. Get you close to the Eucharist, close to the heart of what's happening up on the altar. But it also gives you a little bit of the ability to be in front of people and remain self-composed. So that's good. Lectors. We had a great lector today. That's the junior and senior in high school. Lectors are very good. If you can get up there and read, you're going to really impress your teachers. But you're really getting up there to read out of the love of God. So we'll help you read. We'll bring you along. Youth choir. March is fun. Get into youth choir. There's only about a dozen or so right now. I'm sure March can use additional voices. And of course, a lot of these here are happening anyway.